It's January 27th, 2023, a normal Friday in Auckland. There's an orange rain warning in place, but besides that, nothing really out of the ordinary. By the end of the day, there'll be major flooding across 25 of the city's suburbs, thousands of homes will be damaged or destroyed, and 4 people will have lost their lives.
Going across that bridge. There it goes!
It starts around the end of school time when around a dozen houses are reported flooded. Within an hour, a staggering 60 millimetres of water has fallen at an Auckland Council weather station. The threshold for a severe weather warning is 50 millimetres in 6 hours. It's been less than 2 hours since the first reports, but fire crews are now responding to more than 400 emergency calls across Auckland. Among the reports, the Children's House at Henderson's Best Start Montessori, where 3 children and 3 staff are reportedly stuck in the building.
Here on this road, Meadowcroft Avenue in Henderson, just one area in wider Auckland particularly hard hit tonight by this absolute deluge that is still continuing now after it started some hours ago. The water behind me is only rising centimetre by centimetre as each minute passes. We do know that the fire service has called for all the manpower it has as this rain only keeps on falling.
Among the worst hit of Auckland's suburbs, desperate scenes play out on Henderson's streets, now rivers, as families rush to escape rising floodwaters. As workers begin their commute, the motorways heading north and south of the city become inundated with rivers of water trapping cars. Now, Met Service issues 2 severe thunderstorm warnings. Despite the now widespread flooding across the city, Auckland Emergency Management decides not to ask for an emergency declaration. 500 calls for help have now been made to the city's firefighters. Trains are delayed and cancelled across Auckland's rail network. Emergency management authorities now advise people to stay home if they can. Shortly after 7 o'clock, Elton John's concert at Mount Smart Stadium was called off. The announcement was made over the loudspeaker at the concert venue.
We just arrived here. It took us about 4 hours to get here, so now we've got to wait in the traffic and go all the way back.
It's been quite a journey.
Auckland Transport's special event buses are now being redirected to help concert goers back to the city centre from Mount Smart.
No, they can't stop. Don't let them stop. Yeah, if he stops, we're swimming.
Footage posted to social media shows a concert goer being swept away. The first death is reported in Waido Valley by a member of the public. His name is Dan Miller, and he's spent the afternoon helping people.
Somebody was telling me to go up and check on the people in this house.
This Facebook Live captures the moment he falls into a manhole on Alice Road. His body is found 9 streets away on Target Road. A landslide on Remuera's Shore Road brings down a house, and a person is deemed missing, later found dead. Fire and Emergency New Zealand calls have doubled in the last 2 hours, now fielding 1,000 calls for assistance. Meanwhile, lifeguards rescue nearly 70 people on the North Shore using inflatable rescue boats. Auckland Airport has now recorded 154 millimetres of rain since 9 a.m. and is completely flooded. No planes will be cleared to land until the following afternoon, and it would be 48 hours before international flights would resume. It's around this time that Mayor Wayne Brown signs a state of emergency declaration, but this isn't communicated publicly for nearly an hour. And now, more than 6 hours since the flooding started, Met Service has issued a red weather warning, the highest alert it has. At around 10:15, then Emergency Management Minister Kieran McAnulty confirms the Mayor of Auckland has declared a state of emergency.
That state of emergency was declared just a short time ago after this torrential rain in our biggest city this evening. Aucklanders have been evacuating right across the city. The entire number, we simply don't know.
Fire and Emergency New Zealand is now dealing with 1,500 calls, with the communication centres prioritising people who need rescue. Auckland Mayor Wayne Brown says he acted as quickly as possible to declare a state of emergency at an impromptu late-night press conference which some news outlets aren't invited to. It's now after midnight, and Auckland is counting its third death as flooding continues. The man had been kayaking at the time. The government has deployed staff from the New Zealand Defence Force and the National Emergency Management Agency to assist in the flooding response. Auckland Domain is unrecognisable, with floods turning the park into what looks like a lake. By this point, 249 millimetres of water have fallen at Auckland Airport, which has registered its wettest day in nearly 40 years.
Jeez.
Travellers who've been stuck at the airport all night begin to make their way home for the first time. As dawn breaks over Tamaki Makaurau, flooding has now subsided enough that firefighters can work through the backlog of less urgent calls for assistance. Overnight, they responded to 719 of the 2,242 calls to them. International air travel to New Zealand remains severely disrupted, and flights are either diverted to Christchurch or Wellington, where Prime Minister Chris Hipkins is also stuck. More than 200,000 people on Auckland's North Shore are told to immediately reduce water use by the city's water provider. Met Service lifts its red weather warning, but warns more rain is coming, and in a saturated super city, it won't take much rain to cause flooding. Organisers announced Sir Elton's second show, and his final ever in New Zealand, has also been cancelled, as a flurry of music festivals also announced cancellations in the days ahead. Weather has now cleared enough for the Prime Minister to head to Auckland and assess the damage to New Zealand's biggest city. At a press conference, a defensive Mayor Wayne Brown defends his response to the floods, saying,
"Some of those houses, when you think about it, actually shouldn't have been where they are. Let people think that the declaration was needed for work to be done. And it wasn't at all. It was just a small part of the whole thing. You've got to understand that."
So, a day which has started a bit rainy has ended as the wettest day in Auckland's recorded history. Thousands are without homes, without power, and at this point on the Saturday, one person remains missing. The atmospheric river that carried all that rain and thunder sat over top of the country, and over the following days brought widespread flooding to nearby Bay of Plenty and Waikato, as well as Gisborne. A damning report into the council's response would later find officials acted too late, and the emergency management system was not prepared.
Aucklanders did not receive the timely communications, leadership and practical support they had the right to expect in a crisis of this magnitude.
The finger of blame is pointed at the chair of the Council Emergency Management Committee, the Chief Executive and the Mayor. Brown apologised for his handling of the response. With 8,000 homes to assess and hundreds of roads and bridges to be rebuilt, the Auckland floods would prove to be New Zealand's costliest disaster outside of earthquakes. But it's a record that would stand for only 2 weeks, as Cyclone Gabrielle stirs in the Tasman Sea and charts a course for New Zealand.